Welcome to the Real Property Show, where we talk about building, buying, and selling residential real estate. I'm Brian Freeman, and welcome to the show. Hey everyone, today I wanted to talk to you about your return on investment for an ADU or an ROI on your ADU. What can you expect to get back as far as value on your property? We're not going to talk about cash flow, but we're going to talk about the actual value add that is an appraiser would give to a property if it had an ADU on it versus if it didn't have an ADU. So if you have an existing residence right now that you're wanting to build an accessory dwelling unit on, and you're going to look at, what is this home worth currently right now? So let's say your house is worth $1 million. The way it is, the way it sits without an ADU. So what is that? If we go out and we spend money to build an ADU on our property for whatever reason, if we got, someone from our family that wants to live there, if we're going to rent this property out, what can we expect to the value to increase to once we actually build the ADU? Okay, so most of the time you're not going to get all your money back. Okay, you may get some cash flow from a rental, which could be a positive thing for you. So you got to look at that as far as what your return on investment is, as far as the actual cost you put in, how long it's going to take your investment back. But if you spend, let's say it costs $500,000 to build an ADU. So you would actually be in this property $1.5 million. So you'd have your value plus that you have on your property, plus you'd have another $500,000 you put into that property. Okay, so that's our basis in the property, let's just say. So 1.5 million value plus the ADU. We're going to actually look at now, okay, what's that thing going to be worth? So typically an appraiser is going to give anywhere from like 50% to 80% of the cost to actually build that ADU. So if we're looking at that and we go, okay, well, 500,000, if we spend 500,000 to build an ADU, this could be, nicer ADU that we're building. If we have a lot of site costs, we could spend $500,000 pretty easily. And you're going to get $250,000 value out of that for your 50% ROI. So that would put that value of that property at $1,250,000. So you're not getting all of your money back as far as in value. So you got to decide, hey, am I going to be here long term? Does it make sense for me to keep this for cash flow? Otherwise this thing's going to cost me $250,000 if I turn around and sell this thing next year. So that's definitely a concern when you're looking at these things. So if you get an 80% ROI, if you take 500,000, multiply that thing times 80%, that's $400,000. So maybe it's worth 1.4 million once you do the ADU. So that's still $100,000 less than it actually costs to actually build this ADU. So you got to look at, well, is it worth $100,000 for me to do this? So you can look at from, if you're renting it out, the cash flow standpoint, what do I get for cash flow? Am I getting $2,000, $3,000 a month for rent on this ADU? And does that, how long does it take to pay off, for that, and do you have to actually go out and get a HELOC or or another loan, refinance your property in order to get the cash to do that? And what does that increase your actual payment on the property? So, all of that cash flow you get from a rental might not actually, you're not going to see all that as cash flow because you're going to be servicing some debt from that. So you got to look at that as well. So, but if you just want an ADU and you don't really care, you're going to be there long term, that may not be an issue for you. But if you're looking to turn around and actually sell your property, this could be definitely a concern. What's the ROI on an ADU when you go in there? Because the appraisers are not looking at these things 100% of the time as if like you have a duplex on the property and you're getting rent from that. They're not doing that. They're still using a sales comparison approach when they do the appraisals, and that brings these properties in lower than the actual cost that it actually takes to build these ADUs. So you are not seeing a dollar for dollar add on the value that goes into the property. And this can also lead to a financing issue as well. So if you have a property, say that you financed and you were well under 20% loan to value, and you go to do this add and you lose equity, actually your equity position becomes less in the property. You could potentially end up having to pay, if you refinance, having to pay PMI because you're less than a 20% equity position in the property. You also can have so little equity in a property that you can't actually get the loan, because if you're less than that 20% equity position and then you go and reduce your equity further, then you could be all the way down 95% or even 100% loan to value. So you have to really look at that and see, look at that financing option on the very front end before you actually dive into plans and figure all that out, especially if you don't have a lot of equity in your property. If you got a lot of equity, there's some options. You can get the HELOC, you can do refinance, and even if you do lose an equity position, it allows you to move forward with your project just because you want to get it done and you see value in it from another perspective. So that is something that's really important. So make sure that you're considering the ROI, especially if you're going to sell, before you actually build an ADU, and make sure it makes sense, for you financially and your long-term goals with you building your project. So, all right, so I hope that helps. If you'd like more information about how we can help you with building a custom home, buying land, building an ADU, you can visit our website at tfgonline.com. Go to our resources page. We have a ton of information you can download there on pricing, floor plans. We have a how to buy land guide. Check all those out. You can also go to our FAQ page, and we have a ton of information in our FAQ page. So all the information that we put out in these videos and these podcasts that we put out, we chop all that up and we put them inside of our FAQ page. And we break it down in sections so you're able to get to it very easily. You can also go to our podcast page, maybe on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, and you can subscribe and you can get these notifications every week. All right. Hope you have an excellent rest of your day.